Good morning, students. I hope all of you are fine today. So let's start a new chapter in science, which is sound, students. Okay? So, students, what do you mean by sound? So, before that, we need to understand what is the process or what is all about sound. See, students, sound is a form of mechanical energy, okay, which is everywhere around us. And this form of energy makes us to hear all the different sounds. For example, buzzing of alarm clock, voices of the people, the noise of the vehicles which runs on roads, sound of cricket, mosquitoes, whistle of winds, etc. So see, students, all these sounds, they differ from each other, okay? But all these sounds have one thing common. That is, they all are produced or they are all are created through vibrations. So without sound, students, we cannot talk to anyone or we cannot enjoy the music, radio or television. So we can only recognize the voices of our friends even if they are not visible to us, as because we only hear the vibration of the sound. Okay, so all these sound differentiate from each other because of their pattern of vibrations. So sound is a form of mechanical energy which makes us hear. Okay, so it is a sensation which is received by our ears and it is also perceived by our brain. So sound is only produced by vibrations. Now, the nature of the sound, it only depends upon the nature of the vibrating object, students. Now, the next topic is sound is produced by a vibrating body. Now, what do you mean by vibration? It is a rapid to and fro motion or a back and forth movement of an object. Okay? But this vibration always occurs about a fixed position. So sound is produced because of a vibration. Okay, students, see, let's take one activity. See, students, in activity 12.1, they have taken a rubber band and they have placed the rubber band on the longer side of the pencil box. Now, after that, students, they have placed two pencils between the box and now they are stretching the rubber band. Okay, and the stretch now, after stretching the rubber band, students, that is, they are plucking the rubber band. Now, you will hear any kind of sound. Okay, so this sound is produced due to vibrations. Similarly, students, in activity 12.2, they have taken a tuning fork and they have just banged it on a hard rubber pad so that it vibrates. Now, it vibrates like two rulers fastened together. So, in all these activity, students, we have seen that sound is produced whenever an object is struck, hit or plucked to vibrate. So it is produced by the object which is spreads in all direction in the form of waves which is from or which occurs from a sound center. So sound is produced by vibrating strings, for example, guitar, sitar, etc. Vibrating air columns, for example, flute, vibrating membranes, for example, tabla. Okay. So these all sounds are produced only by vibration, students. Now the next topic is the sound needs medium to travel. Okay. So as we have learned in our previous chapter, that is light doesn't need any medium. Okay. It can travel in solid, liquid, gas as well as in vacuum. But sound always needs a medium. We have observed that when we strike a tuning fork on the rubber pad, it starts vibrating and the sound is spread in all directions, students. So it travels through air to our ears and we can recognize the sound. But student, the sound travels not only through gases, but they also travel through solids and liquids, as because in all these three mediums, they contain particles. So it is the movement of the particles, students, which makes the vibrations very clear, and these vibrations reaches our ears. Now students, the molecules which are close to each other, they just try to bump into the molecules which are close to them, and they cause vibrations. Now this in turn makes them hit into more air particles. So one air particle strikes the other air particle and it keeps on continuing. Okay, so this movement is called sound waves. So one air particle is striking the next air particle, and that air particle is striking the another air particle. So in this way it produces a movement which is called sound waves, and it keeps on going until the molecules run out of energy. So students, this is a series of collisions as the sound wave passes through the air medium. But students, the air molecules themselves don't travel with the wave. That is, the first air molecule will not travel directly to the ear, okay, to the ear of the human being or of the living organisms. So each molecule, students, just moves away from a resting point and then eventually returns to it. That means first air particle will strike the next air particle and it will again come back to its original position. So when these vibrations reaches our ears, then we can hear them as sound. So sound always needs medium, that is solid, liquid or gas. But student, sound cannot travel through vacuum, as because there are no air between the vibrating object and our ear, so no sound is heard. So a medium is required for the propagation. Propagation means for the traveling of the sound. Now how does sound reaches, or how does sound travels through solids? See students, sound travels through a solid faster than through a liquid, as because of the particles arrangement, because the particles arrangement in the solid particles are very close to each other. Now if you just place your ear against one side of the wooden door, and if you just knock it on the other side, you will able to hear the knock on the door clearly, because the vibrating particles is made up of wood, okay, and it transmits the sound to our ears much faster. Similarly students, a snake detects the vibrations in the ground with its lower jawbone, as because it crawls on the ground. Okay, now students, the next topic is how sound travels in liquid. See, dolphins and whales which lives in the sea, they communicate, okay, with each other because of the sound, as because sound travels in liquid, that is sound travels through seawater. Students, if you just fill a bucket of water and just immerse a squeaky toy at the bottom of the bucket. Now just press the toy, okay, which is placed at the bottom of the bucket. You can hear the sound made by the squeaky toy. So this activity clears the fact that sound also travels in liquid medium, students. Now the next topic is sound in travels in gases. Now see students, most of the things which we often hear from dawn to dusk are the sound waves which travels through the gases, that is air. Right from the ringing of doorbell or the mobile phone or the musical program which we can see, or when we talk, when we communicate to each other, all these different sounds travel through air. So see students, so above all the activities which we have seen, that the propagation of sound, that is the traveling of sound, always requires a medium, that is solid, liquid and gases. So sound travels faster in solids with a speed of about 5,960 meter per second, but it gets slower in liquid, that is 1,531 meter per second, and it is slowest the most in gases with a speed of 340 meter per second. The speed varies as because of the molecules, they are closely packed in solid, so the sound energy is not wasted in transferring from one place to another. But as compared to gases, the molecules are very far apart, okay? So that's why the sound travels in gases, it gets decreases. Now see students, we also know that speed of light in air is 3 into 10 to the power 8 meter per second, which is much faster than the speed of sound. That is why students, in the rainy season during thunderstorms, okay, the flashing of light we see first, and then we can hear the thundering. We can hear the thunder, okay, a little later, as because sound travels slowest in air as compared to light. Now students, we will now learn sound in vacuum. As we have learned that sound always requires any medium, that is solid, liquid or gas. So the presence of a medium is very much required for the propagation, that is the traveling of sound. In absence of any medium, students, the sound cannot travel and you cannot hear anything in vacuum, as because no molecules are there present so that it can vibrate, and also there are no air particles. For that reason it cannot carry the sound waves. In space, students, there is vacuum. So if we try to listen or if we try to communicate in space, then we cannot hear anything, as because there are no air particles. So the astronauts who travel in space, they communicate with each other over radio set, because radio waves travels through vacuum. Okay students, now the next is the characteristics of vibration. Now as we have already learned that it is a type of energy which is produced by vibrations. So vibration means to and fro motion of an object which occurs about a fixed position. Now this is also called oscillatory motion. For example, motion of a swing, motion of any attached motion of a body which is attached to a spring. But in some cases, students, these vibrations are clearly visible. For example, if we when a string of a guitar is plucked, it starts vibrating and we able to hear the string vibrating up and down. But in some cases, students, the vibrations are not very visible because they can be very fast or they are very small, that can be detected by our naked eyes. Okay, so we can only feel the vibrations by touching the vibrating object. For example, when we speak or when we sing, our vocal cords do vibrate, but we cannot see them vibrating because we can only feel the vibrations, and as because these vibrations are very fast, so it is not detected through our ear, students. So each vibrating particle has three characteristics, namely amplitude, time period and frequency, students. Okay students, so students, in our next class we will try to learn, okay, we will learn these three characteristics of about sound, that is amplitude, time period and frequency. Okay students, so students, till this much understood it very clear, very carefully, read the chapter thoroughly. Okay, so we will continue with the chapter in our next class. So students, thank you for today.